Most people spend their lives chasing identities shaped by the world around them. But what if the core of who you really are is completely beyond all these labels and stories? When we begin to explore the nature of who we truly are from a Buddhist perspective, we embark on a journey that challenges how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Buddhism does not simply provide spiritual advice, but offers a radical reinterpretation of self-identity, one that invites us to peel back layers of conditioning to discover a reality beneath our surface assumptions. The first teaching we need to understand is the concept of Anatta, or no self. This is a cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy, and it runs counter to the common assumption that there is a permanent, unchanging essence inside us that defines our identity. Unlike many traditional belief systems, which hold to a soul or immutable self, Buddhism asserts that what we call self is actually a dynamic flux of physical and mental phenomena, constantly changing, but never fixed. This means your sense of I is not some static entity. Rather, it is an ever-evolving collection of experiences, sensations, thoughts, emotions, and perceptions, all interfacing with the external world. This may feel unsettling at first, because our ego clings desperately to the notion of a consistent identity. But this teaching encourages us to step back and see life through a more fluid lens. As you begin to explore this idea more deeply, you realize so much of your suffering stems from your attachment to a rigid self-image, from fear of loss to the desire for control. All these stem from believing in a singular, permanent self that must be protected. But if self is not permanent, then attachment loosens, and with that comes a measure of freedom. The second critical teaching is dependent origination, which explains that nothing exists independently. Everything arises due to causes and conditions coming together. This is a profound insight into how the self, too, is not isolated or independent. Instead, your identity arises as a result of innumerable factors, including genetics, upbringing, culture, thoughts, habits, external environment, and current mental states. When you see that you are not an isolated island, but rather a constantly changing constellation of interconnected elements, the boundaries of self begin to dissolve. This understanding fosters compassion too, because recognizing the interdependent nature of existence naturally expands empathy towards others, since all life is connected and interwoven in complex ways. Moving further into Buddhist thought, we encounter the teaching of emptiness, or Shunyata, which means one important thing here is that what appears real and fixed to us is ultimately empty of inherent existence. This is another way of saying that what we take to be ourselves is empty of any fixed independent identity. Instead, our sense of self is like waves on an ocean, not separate from the water but dependent on it, and transient in form. What this invites us to do is to disidentify from the self as a solid entity, and to see it as a flow, a process that is inseparable from the wider whole. When we truly embrace this emptiness, we are no longer trapped by self-centered thinking. We realize a unitive experience beyond dichotomies of self and other. One of the most practical applications of these teachings comes through mindfulness and meditation practices. Buddhist meditation guides us to observe the contents of our mind without attachment or judgment. By sitting quietly and watching thoughts, emotions, body sensations arise and pass away, we learn to witness the impermanence and selfless nature of our mental life. Firsthand, this direct experience can slowly dissolve the habitual identification with self, reinforcing the wisdom that what we often take to be me is just a shifting flow of phenomena. When you start to apply this view in everyday life, your relationship with yourself and others transforms. You become less reactive, more open, less bound to egoic narratives, and more capable of compassion, generosity, and patience, because you see that the person you think you are is not fixed, but fluid and connected. Your actions flow from a place of deeper understanding. This changes everything from how you handle conflict to how you engage in relationships, and even how you face your own mortality. The Buddhist perspective on who you truly are ultimately points to a truth that transcends conventional identity. It gestures towards an experience of self that is beyond labels, stories, or any concrete form. It is an experience of pure awareness, a limitless presence that is not confined by birth or death, not a self that owns things or controls them, but a self that is open, alive, and deeply interconnected with all life. This awakening to your true nature is not something to grasp intellectually, but to be lived and embodied moment to moment through practice, reflection, and direct experience. The journey is not always easy, since it requires facing deeply ingrained habits and illusions, but it also offers profound peace, freedom, and joy as fruit. In summary, from a Buddhist viewpoint, you are not the many identities you associate with, but a flux of interdependent phenomena, devoid of a permanent self. You are empty of fixed essence, but full of potential and connectedness. Your true self is not a thing, but a dynamic unfolding mystery, inviting you to wake up to the present and live fully awake. This perspective invites us to let go of our attachments to fixed self-images and to embrace the fluid and interconnected nature of existence. When lived deeply, it liberates minds from suffering and opens hearts to love and compassion. This is the essence of understanding who you truly are through a Buddhist lens. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this wisdom with others who may benefit from it. We'll see you in the next video.